hello, and welcome back to the Talking Blondes podcast. We are so happy to have you with us. My name is Caitlin, and I'm coming to you all from the Buckeye State. OH, everybody. And I'm joined by my lovely co host.
Hello, everyone. It's Virginia coming to you from North Idaho in the Pacific Northwest.
So happy to be here with you, Virginia, and so happy to be here with you all, listeners and viewers, whether you're on your treadmill or in your car or just doing you, just hanging out and giving this a listen, whatever you're doing. We appreciate you spending this time with us, and we are so excited to kick off another episode. Um, I'm just gonna start. I'm just gonna
You
go
start,
with it.
girl. You
So yeah,
start.
do it. And so we like to kind of do a little quote sometimes, or a little question, or a little teaser of some sorts before we kick off these episodes. And so for this episode, I have a quote. Now, in episodes past, it's often been something a bit more serious than this one is, or maybe a bit more, inspiring, or what have you. This one's a little different, so bear with me. So here we go. The quote is: If I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now. And that quote is from the wonderful, iconic National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And it is quoted, or spoken, I guess I should say, by none other than Clark Griswold. So I know it's a little bit of a different quote than what we normally use, but I'll paint you guys a little picture. I'm probably dating myself here by, I'm sure there's a bunch of, potentially Gen Zers out there who are like, National what? Clark who? Like, I'm sorry, what? So, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is one of my very favorite Christmas movies ever. It is a classic. And it is all about this American family, Chevy Chase in particular, playing Clark Griswold, who is the lead. And he is just this beyond hopeless. I don't want to say hopeless romantic, but he's hopeless romantic when it comes to the holidays. He just wants to give his family the absolute best Christmas of their entire lives, and he just wants to go all out, and he puts thousands of lights on his house outside to the point where the whole street loses power. He there's just numerous things that just, it's like what could go wrong does go wrong. And he does this with this wonderful heart of, just wanting to be hopeful and optimistic in spite of his family being like, this is dumb, or just like not really being as into it as he is. And so he says this line to good old cousin Eddie, who is a hoot. And cousin Eddie has done everything from show up in his, trailer and literally unloading the appliance that they use to go to the bathroom in the sewer on the street. I mean, there's just a number of things that are just like, what is happening here? This is not the perfect Christmas. How did we get this way? So I say all this because this quote is basically one of the lines that Clark uses when he's kind of at his wit's end and he's feeling quite overwhelmed. He's feeling very stressed, a bit defeated, and might I even say burned out. So I won't give away any more of that movie, and I did not do it justice in my explanation. It's hilarious. I highly recommend it. You should all check it out. But without further ado, that quote helps kick off our topic for this episode. So we are right around entering holiday season, and Virginia and I thought, what better way to kick things off than talk about not just burnout. Burnout itself is big, and we will address it, But even maybe on a bigger scale, considering the time, we want to talk about holiday burnout. We want to talk about what this looks like. Of course, we'll define burnout and holiday burnout, especially. We'll talk about the side effects. We'll talk about stages of burnout. That is a thing. We'll also talk about ways to spot burnout, and we'll talk about ways to cure it or even just kind of fight against it when you're feeling it. It might not fully go away, but it's something that absolutely you can kind of push through. And even though it feels impossible, sometimes I get it. I've been there. Feels impossible, but there are ways around it. So we'll talk about all of that. We're also going to talk about, as women, how holiday burnout in particular can have a deep impact on women. Now, it can absolutely impact men. Not saying this is only a female thing. However, we're going to talk about how the holidays look for so many ladies out there, whether you're a mom, a wife, or neither. Whether I mean, you don't have to be either of those. I'm neither of those, and I absolutely still feel the holiday burnout each year. So there's a lot of pressure that we often feel. There's a lot of people pleasing that can come into play. And there are just numerous ways that holiday burnout can show up in our lives. So we're going to talk about all of those things. And I am super pumped for this episode. I think this is going to be a really good way to help us just kind of lean into the holiday season and do it in a way where we feel ready, we feel excited, and we feel equipped. Because those are things that I don't know about you, Virginia. I'm all for. I need them. I need that in my tool belt. I'm feeling like you probably do too. And I think a lot of our listeners will hopefully benefit from that. So without further ado, Virginia, I'll kick us off. And I would just love to hear a lot of your experience with this topic. So I know, and for anybody who may have missed some of our previous episodes, Virginia has talked about growing up in a family where burnout, or not, I'm sorry, not burnout, where perfectionism in particular was something that the women were highly, highly held to. And it was just kind of a standard from the time that, she was young. So I really want to talk about that. I would love to hear maybe things that you witnessed or just the vibes, I guess I should say, that you might have experienced. I also want to, and I'm just going to let you take it from here. I want to talk to you about that. I want to hear your thoughts on that. I also want to hear what holiday, what's the phrase I'm looking for? What your approach looks like to the holiday season as a wife and a stepmom, and just as a woman in general, in her 30s. And I guess before I do that, before I ask you all this, let's just kick it off with defining burnout, right? Let's go for that. So, burnout is known to be a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion that's caused by prolonged or excessive stress. I think we can all say we felt that at least once in our lives. And if you haven't, you're very lucky, but it's probably going to happen. I hate to break it to you, you're probably going to feel it at some point. Holiday burnout, along the lines of that, it's a sister of burnout. Holiday burnout is all of that, but caused by the overcommitment and pressure and stress of the holiday season. So we've got that definition there. Put a pin in that, and let's get back to throwing the microphone over to Virginia here. I would love to hear your experience with anything you may have just witnessed or any mindsets that may have been kind of ingrained upon you from the time you were young about embracing and facing the holidays as a female, and how you approach the holidays now.
Yes, Caitlin. Oh, that's great. I can't wait to dive into all this with you. Okay, so looking back, my childhood, I have mostly fond, positive memories of the holidays, and that has a lot to do with the my family, especially the women. So I'll start with Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving on my dad's side of the family, he is one of eight, and just immediate family alone, about 40 plus people can show up for the annual Thanksgiving, which is a huge, huge production. Okay, it takes everybody, all hands on deck to make this happen, which is really, really great because as we go into the holidays, sometimes we feel like we have to take it all on ourselves. And what I'm hoping is that you have a support system. So even though it does require effort on your part, it does require you to take time out of your busy schedule. I feel like when you are part of a support system, you just feel like you can do this and it's not going to cause burnout. It can still cause stress. It can still be messy and it can still be exhausting. But if you're able to offload and delegate and have this this village essentially, I think that can really help you get through the holidays. So back to Thanksgiving. Yeah, it was a huge production, but it was a lot of fun. Now, as a kid, you didn't really get like the responsibilities that you got when you were older to contribute. So when you're a kid, you had, the classic kid, holiday experience. So you just got to be and you got to enjoy. Well, when you got older, the rite of passage is that you got assigned a task, whether that was cleaning dishes. So there'd be a whole line of us doing dishes. You were assigned to bring a certain, meal for the potluck. I mean, this wasn't about like, oh no, I'm not a kid anymore, so I can't just show up, with my parents and not contribute. This is a way of, as you get older, like, yeah, realizing how much work goes into this. This is no small thing. So there's a greater appreciation for it. And knowing that it's about community, it's about connection. And just because it may cause some stress and some exhaustion, it doesn't mean it wasn't worth it. So we tend to have this all or nothing mindset. And what I was reminded of earlier today, listening to another podcast on burnout, is sure, it can inconvenience you. Sure, it may be the last thing, that you want to do because maybe there was a part of you that was like, yes, let's do all the things. And when those things arrive, you're like, oh no, I'm not that person anymore. Like, I'm not that yes person. Like, I really wish I didn't commit to this. If it just because it inconveniences you and causes some stress and some exhaustion, it doesn't mean it wasn't worth it. And that is the magic in the holidays. That is, it is facilitated by people who genuinely love doing that. And it comes from this beautiful, loving, giving place. I guess the nuance to that is that if you're asking yourself like, okay, is this something that I look forward to being a part of, every year? Is this something that I want to do? Is this something that brings me joy and fulfillment? I think those are all worthy questions to ask instead of just being on autopilot every year and just pushing through the holidays where you're disassociated and you're not even present. I don't think that makes for a healthy experience either during the holidays. So if you want to just check in with yourself and give yourself, some time to really reflect, like, are you able to connect with your loved ones? Are you having, healthy, uplifting conversations? Do you feel good? If those are all yeses, but it can still come with, the stress and the exhaustion, I'm going to say that you're still part of something quite special, and you absolutely should go for it. But if it's doing the opposite, That might be an indicator that you need to take a step back and reevaluate if this is, a priority in your life, and if it really, you know, um, helps with your overall well-being. So that was Thanksgiving growing up on my dad's side of the family. And then there was Christmas, which I remember more Christmas memories on my mom's side of the family. So my grandparents had this home growing up. It was absolutely beautiful on the lake, huge house, just from floor to ceiling, wall, just all in Christmas decoration. Now, that must have been a lot of work. As a kid, you don't really realize this. But as you get older and you start to look at things through an adult lens, not a child lens, you realize this must have taken hours or days to prepare the house to make it like this giant Christmas village, from exactly that, having a Christmas village set to a Christmas Disney set and this huge tree in the living room. I mean, it was so elaborate and so beautiful. And I'm sure my grandmother and my grandfather had a lot to do with it. I like to think, though, that it's because my grandmother, and I feel like I can speak more for her than my grandfather about it, it's because she genuinely loves decorating. That is her thing. I actually got to talk to her about that recently. Now she's gone through years and years of depression and grief, losing my grandfather 10 years ago. So she kind of lost the spirit in decorating. And this is actually one of the reasons why burnout hits hard during the holidays, is because some of us might be experiencing grief of losing a loved one and have to go through the holidays without that person. And so that happened to my grandmother, and she hasn't really decorated in years. When I came to her house, she was all decked out for Halloween. She had all her things out, and she was telling me that she is so excited to decorate for Christmas. Now, it's a lot of work for her. She's in her 80s, all by herself. She doesn't have really anyone to help her with these things. But she's doing it because she genuinely loves doing it, and she feels like she's a part of something special. So with that all being said, I wanted to address that in today's episode, that if you're one of those women who love creating holiday magic for your loved ones, and it is coming from a place of abundance and love, that is such a gift that you give others. It's so beautiful. But if it's coming from a place that is more of like a scarcity, you're afraid that if you don't do it, that you're less than, that you'll be judged for it. So like on that, my mom went through that actually. She was known to be the mom, especially to my older brother and I, the mom who did Christmas and did Christmas so well. Well, when I was about 14, 15 years old, my parents had two more kids later in life, so they had babies. They started all over again, and Christmas wasn't that elaborate, and she had these giant like Christmas, they looked like trash bags. They were giant bags stuffed with presents and just like underneath the tree. And she's like, Merry Christmas. Like she was so like burnt out and stressed from having, two more kids. I remember my older brother and I, again, we're young kids. We don't really fully understand like, oh, well, our mom is just really stressed out. So, hence why we got these giant trash bags, of Christmas presents for Christmas. Well, I'm a mom now, and I've been parenting for like 20 years now. And the thing about all of that, and if you're listening and you're a mother, and this hits home with you, that you are going through an emotional holiday season, you're already feeling the burnout, you're already feeling the mental health effects of it, I want to let you know it does not make you any less than of a woman, of a mother, of a wife. You are still human. You are still whole. And Yeah, sure. It's a funny story for my older brother and I to say like, I remember that one Christmas we got trash bags. But what I want to touch on is that as long as your kids feel loved and they feel safe and they feel like their mom is present with them, I promise you, you are making a beautiful, memorable holiday season for your loved ones. If you are the mom who is so like spent mentally, emotionally, physically, and you're snapping at your loved ones, you are burdening them with your own pressures about the holidays to the point where they don't even want to be around you, that is something to take note of. And so I know, I hope I answered
Yeah.
some of your questions you had about my upbringing with the holidays and just kind of
Yeah.
like
I don't think
tying
I
it all
knew.
together.
Yeah, no, you did great. I don't think I knew your dad's family was that big. That's
Yes.
wild. Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
It comes from a big
My
family.
family is so small, so it's like it's a very totally different thing. And I always have loved the idea of like having a big family. I just think that's, but I can also see how it could get to be, its own kind of chaos at the same time. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think to your point too, when we're children, the magic of the holiday season, of course it's there, and of course it's something that I am a firm believer in trying to hold on to as an adult. It does look different as an adult, because when you're a kid, it's like, yeah, like you just wake up and oh, there's all these presents there, and oh, like there's this delicious food on the table, and the decorations are out, and like most of the time you don't have a whole lot to do with that. Maybe you're helping stir, the mashed potatoes or some, but you're not doing a whole lot else.
Yeah.
So, it's very true, that as we grow, I think hopefully we gain a better appreciation, for the people who came before us, who really had everything to do with that magic,
Yeah.
and to your point too, Virginia, it only you're not going to remember all those things, and you're not going to have such a high view of them and recall them with such happiness if the people in your life, the parents or grandparents or whomever's raising you, if those people are not making you feel emotionally safe, and they're
Mhm.
not, if they're snapping at you or yelling at you over very small minute thing, I mean, I think you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, you did a great job answering that. And I love that, you had these amazing Christmases where your grandparents would just like, especially your grandma, it sounds like, just decked decked the halls, like
Check
in
the
every
whole.
which way.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I love that your grandma's into Halloween too. She's my kind of girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I loved it so much because it can, the decorating, the baking, the hosting, that can bring a sense of purpose to people
Yes.
in life.
Yes.
And I would not ever want to take that away from somebody. That may not be my thing, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
play a role in other ways. But for some people, I mean, it's just a natural calling for them that they look forward to, to every year. And Caitlin, you actually brought up one of the other reasons as to why holiday burnout can hit hard or harder, and that is having complex family dynamics. So I
Mm,
touched on earlier about how with the holidays coming up, some of us may be going into this holiday season recently losing a loved one, or still coping with grief. The other is family members who are still very much with us, but are a little bit more difficult and challenging to deal with during the holiday season. So that could also cause a lot of stress.
yes. Yes. We all have our cousin Eddie. Although cousin Eddie is actually kind of a doll. He's just like the comic relief of the movie where he's just a goofball. But yes, we all have, all these interesting family dynamics,
Yes.
to put it politely. So
And that's why I was kind of saying, like, if you just want to do yourself a solid and just take a little bit of time to reflect and ask yourself,
Mhm.
like, do you exactly like, do you feel good around these people?
Yeah.
Um, are you making genuine connections and having healthy conversations? And so, um, I know that might be difficult for some to do, because you might realize that the reality is you really don't have close family, that you have healthy relationships with. And that can also be very lonely for people
Mhm.
during the holidays.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. Well, you brought up to another good point, and I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on it. We were just talking about how holiday burnout in particular can, in many ways, I think, impact us harder than even just,
Mhm.
burnout, whether it's from work or, things in our personal life or, just being overcommitted in a non-holiday season.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear more, Miss Life Coach. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts as to why you think, it is that way. Like, why does it seem to hit us all so much harder?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And as Caitlin and I were preparing for today's episode, I was, questioning a lot more about, like, well, why does burnout hit harder during the holiday season? Because in a way, I was kind of comparing it to summertime. So summertime is also a short, condensed window where you jam pack all these social events and activities. Granted, you can still experience burnout even during that time, but I think there's a few other things that are going against us during the holiday season with burnout. And here are some of those things compared to like summertime. Summertime, we have longer days, we have sunlight. So we are already more energized and motivated to do all the things. Now, with that being said, it's still very important to take care of your well being during that time because you can still experience burnout. Um, but I realize as to why it might hit harder during the holiday season, and that's because we're going into winter. We are going into darker, colder months, depending on where you live. This may or may not pertain to you. But I was like, oh, so we're not as motivated to leave our home and to go do X, Y, and Z during the holiday season because we're kind of fighting against this biological, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Biological response to the seasonal
Okay, yeah.
changes that we want to hunker down and hibernate. So we're kind of fighting against that because the holiday season, much like summer, is this short window and we jam pack all these activities, but with very little sunlight. So we're
Mm-hmm.
not as energized and we're not as motivated. And there seems to be, not to say that we don't have access to these sort of things during summertime, like alcohol and ice cream and inflammatory things. But again, we have the sunlight and we are outdoors way, way more than we are during the winter months. So you, with that, plus the inflammation from the alcohol, if you partake in that, the sweets and the treats and all that, and you're not moving your body as much like you did during summer, it all combats over time. And I think that's why burnout hits harder during the holiday season, along with some other things. But Caitlin, I think you were going to mention something real
I was
quick.
just gonna say, and why is it always so hard to say no to that stuff? It is so hard when it's December and it's cold and, we've got hot chocolate and eggnog and gingerbread and, oh, have more stuffing and this and that. I mean, it's like, I just feel like it's so hard to say no, and of course, that's probably for another podcast, eating healthy and, all these things. But
Mhm.
no, to your point, I think that is so spot on. And I definitely am someone who struggles with, seasonal depression where, there's just less sunlight in general and I'm outdoors less. And, there
Mhm.
is absolutely something to be said about having less motivation. It's kind of like you're fighting what might feel like a losing battle because you have less motivation, but you are being asked to do perhaps more things than you were being asked to do in, even August, September, October. Like, I mean, to be fair, August, there's still some summertime, obviously, but I just feel like it is everything just gets hit the ball rolling, and we do feel this pressure.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think too, Virginia, there's something to be said about comparison, right?
Yeah.
So we of course we love and we honor anyone who's listening who thrives during these things. There are definitely people out there who are like, yeah, I'm cool. I got cookies in the oven. I'm wrapping presents. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm decorating my, Christmas tree. I got all these things, and that's awesome. And don't get me wrong, I like doing those things too. But excuse me. But there is something definitely out there. You go on social media and you see, oh, looks like so and so just, posted pictures of their perfect Christmas tree. I want to do mine too now. Or you feel guilty that you haven't done yours yet, or oh, you didn't get your kids, the perfect Christmas gift they've been wanting, or whatever, because maybe money's tight. And we do this thing, and it's very natural, but we do this thing where we compare. And so I would even, I mean, there's obviously ways to cope with that, of course. Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say. But, I would definitely urge anyone who feels that holiday burnout is something that they have experienced in the past or may experience over the next couple months, I definitely urge you to limit your time on social media. And that's not to say, oh, don't ever go on it, or oh, it's the enemy. Like, you do you. But I do think that might be a good boundary to put into play, because it just kind of opens the door for a lot more feelings of guilt.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think we're talking about all these different ways that holiday burnout can absolutely impact us. Did you know that there's actually 5 stages of burnout? You might have known this. You probably know this because you're a life coach. You probably know these things. Um, I did not know this. So I did some research, and there are 5 stages of burnout. The first is actually the honeymoon phase. So I don't know if I'd even call that a stage, because to me it's like everything feels hunky dory. You're let's just break this down from like a holiday perspective, right? I originally thought about this in a work experience because I think we've all been there. But
Mhm.
let's just say stage one of holiday burnout, honeymoon phase. Oh, yay, Thanksgiving's coming. I'm so excited. Our cousins are flying in from this city and this is happening. And oh, so and so's going to bring her baby and blah, blah, blah. And you just can't wait. You've got all these recipes picked out. You're going to host. You're going to do all the things. Then you get stage two, which is the onset of stress. So time's a ticking, and you realize, oh, that's great, but I also have soccer practice I have to go to for my kids, and I've got I'm staying overtime at work for the next couple weeks for this, and oh, my spouse is really needing support in this, or oh wow, I just feel like I might have a little bit too much on my plate right now, and I'm not sure about this upcoming really big day that I've got on my calendar that I need to prep for. So
Mhm.
that would be a little bit of stress that might be just kind of starting to make its mark on you. Stage 3 of burnout would be chronic stress. So this is daily. This is feelings of perhaps apathy, and perhaps a bit of bitterness. I kind of think of the Grinch in this instance, and I think about, maybe how, and I know I keep throwing out holiday movie characters, but it's just easy. Like it's too easy. Think about how he was just kind of over it, right? Think about the Who's and Whoville and how they're all just trying so hard to outdo each other, and it's a constant. So that would be chronic stress. Stage 4 would be actual burnout. So you've got exhaustion and you've got a very negative mindset that results in this ability where you are, or I should say, lack of coping ability. You're just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just going with it. Whatever happens, happens. We'll see if the food's ready by the time people are here. And also, I think it'd be nice for them to host sometime. They've got a lot of nerve expecting me to cook this huge meal. Whatever, maybe
Mhm.
something kind of like that. I'm just throwing Thanksgiving out there. There's probably more examples for things like Christmas, but just for the sake of this example. And then stage 5, you've got habitual burnout. So this is the most severe stage. You're going to be facing chronic fatigue, and you're going to be facing, in many chances, depression. So kind of, we all kind of know how depression, I think, shows up in many different forms for each of us when we experience it. So I'm not going to give one specific example, but just kind of a feeling of hopelessness, kind of a why am I doing this? What's the point? It's just another day. It's another holiday. It's not fun for me. Nobody's going to appreciate it. It's the same old, and I'm never going to accomplish it anyways. What's the point of any of it? Um, so the 5 stages of burnout, Virginia. Ooh, that's a lot, right? Yeah. So, would you say in recent years you have, you know, maybe felt any of these? And if so, what might you have done to kind of combat those and try to make your situation better?
Well, I would say that I probably kept myself really busy at work to avoid my
Ooh,
emotions. So
okay.
I was um, going into today's episode, I wanted to just even for our listeners be like, well, why do you say yes to everything?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you stay busy, all the time? And usually it stems from uh, emotional avoidance. So I was a workaholic when I was younger. So during the holidays, I mean, that was my excuse. Like, I'm just so busy with work instead of actually processing, my emotions in a healthy way and managing my stress in a healthy way. So, I coped with, having a sweet tooth and eating high amounts of sugar every day and alcohol and all that and neglecting my health. So, the basic pillars of health are still applicable during the holiday season: sleep, exercise, stress management, nutrition. That is what keeps us functioning. Um, and so when we neglect those things, and we were more susceptible, to burnout, because our calendars are like filled with so many things that are pulling us in 1,000 different directions. We feel like we don't even have the energy to take care of ourselves, in those ways, in those very basic ways. So I definitely prioritize, my wellness routine. I take far better care of myself than I ever did in my 20s. But it has to come with some flexibility and not rigidness, especially during a season that pulls you in 1,000 different directions. So maybe you're not able to go to all of your workout classes, in a week because your kids do have these school functions that you have to volunteer at because every year there's, everyone has to pay their dues. Or you do have to help out with a work event. Just and Caitlin, to your point, you mentioned a little bit ago about like, we'll do these things, but then we'll have resentment about them.
Mhm.
So what if you took the opportunity, with knowing that these holiday events were coming up? What if you took this as an opportunity to express to whoever, like, hey, is it at all a possibility for you to take it on this year? Now, granted, this might have to be done way in advance, not last minute or anything, but what about just having that conversation, just opening up that conversation and see what they have to say? I think that's applicable to all aspects of life, your work, your family. Just
Mhm.
asking, like, hey, just seeing if you can. If not, could you help me with this? Because that's a skill set, by the way, to be able to have those kind of constructive, healthy conversations, and come up with an action plan, with your village, like I was talking about earlier, with your community, and delegating and offloading. Um, if you and it may not even be a conscious thing, it could be subconscious because that stems from people pleasing. So people pleasing is very deep rooted in it, and Caitlin and I have talked about this in a few of our previous episodes, that it's so deep rooted it could go back to your childhood, even when you learn to dismiss your own needs and internalized, and felt like you were not worthy at all. So with people pleasing, in your adult life, especially around, the holidays, um, we dismiss our needs and we take on extra things, and then we have resentment. And if we're emotionally dysregulated, there's a good chance we're going to project that onto our loved ones, people who don't deserve it. And it's also a way to keep the narrative going that no one is willing to help you, and that you're all in this by yourself, and that you are a victim, and you're going to have the kind of holiday that you're going to have. And it might not be a very positive one. So I'm bringing this up because I do see that in the women in my family. They will take on all this extra stress, and you will know all about it and be left to feel like, oh, so when I offered to help and you denied me, and now you get to twist it around and be like, no one helps me. Um, it's not great. It's not great. So I'm bringing this up because I used to be one of those, women, that victim narrative, and I don't mean to say that in a dismissive way, like, oh, victim narrative. I'm not saying it in a dismissive way. I'm saying it because it's not a conscious, it's a subconscious programming. We're not even aware that we're doing it. But if this resonates with you, again, it doesn't make you less than, okay? It just tells me that we need to come up with a wellness plan for you that works for you, that works for your schedule, because yeah, the solution for you could be, well, I'm just going to avoid everything at all costs. Everything that stresses me, everything that triggers me, I'm just going to avoid it. You can do that. You can do that. You won't be thriving. You won't be living, but you can
And
do
what
that.
a low quality of life you'll have too. I mean, you're
Yes.
missing out on so many beautiful moments,
And that's
and
a good way of
at,
putting it,
at
Caitlin.
what
Low
cost?
quality of life. And because I mentioned earlier that just because we're doing something that is joyful and meaningful and beautiful, that doesn't mean it can't come with stress. Okay, so a lot of it is our reaction to it. And again, not asking for help, not setting healthy boundaries, not saying no. So if we address those things, um, then it kind of like increases your chances of, I think, just taking better care of yourself, for you, and that's very important, but also for our loved ones. Um, but yeah, I can think about, I use that as an example, the whole like petty, passive aggressive, and I've lived it, I've experienced it. But the biggest thing for me as a mom, is I am not a stickler for traditions. So if one Christmas is this way and another Christmas is that way, cool. As long as we're happy, healthy, and present with one another, I really don't, it doesn't really faze me.
Yeah.
So now that could have a lot to do with my family dynamic. I'm a stepmom, so we share our kids. I never wanted our kids to feel pressured when it came to the holidays. Like, no, you got to do this with us, and then that's a thing we do at our house. And what about going to see the Christmas lights? And what about baking this? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to do these things. And granted, like they come from a place of nostalgia, they come from a place of tradition and comfort and familiarity. But it can become problematic if you keep forcing it and forcing it. And then
Yeah.
your loved ones are like, I'm sorry, but I can't do that thing because I have this now. And it's like, you're gonna ruin Christmas. Do you do you know how like upsetting that is? No, it's not the
It's
fact that,
canceled.
yeah, Christmas is canceled.
You're not coming to the tree lighting. There's no Christmas
You've
this
been
year.
banned. You've been banned. That is so hurtful. That is so
Yeah.
hurtful. And
Yeah.
so we're bringing awareness to this because again, I really do think it's just part of our subconscious programming that we're not even aware of it. But if we can start to become aware of it, um, we can make better choices and we can set better intentions for how we want to experience, the holidays or any season in our lives. Um, but
Love
yeah, it
that.
just,
I love
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
it had me really like thinking in those terms.
Well, and honestly, Virginia, I think it's so funny because I, the minute you said, oh yeah, like no one offers to help me around here. I do it all myself. And then, you offer to help when the person's like, no, like I think we've all known people like that, or we've been that person. Like I know someone who their mom years back, I remember vividly like going over for holiday, dinners and stuff, and was like, yeah, let me help you with the mac and cheese or with this or with that. Oh, no, no, no. And then, there'd be like some kind of mini fight, some kind of a whatever about how like no one else lifts a finger around here except for mom. And it's like, okay, but we've
Mhm.
all offered and we're all trying, and I wonder why, what is it about us? I think women particularly do that. I think I don't have an answer to that. But I think that's a very, I don't know, that's just a curious thought to me, is why do we as women hold ourselves to this? Again, it's a perfectionist thing. No one, I'm the only one who can do it the way it needs to be done. I think is kind of the mindset that we have.
The
However,
control, the
yeah,
control, because
yeah,
perfectionism is control and
but
anxiety. Hmm.
but and when you don't delegate, you
Hmm.
rob yourself of the chance for others, one, to help you take the load off, and two, do it the way the perfect way. Learn to do it the right way. And I'm not saying, oh, like you have to call all the shots.
Hmm.
But, it's like, okay, then maybe others can learn like your secret recipe, or whatever. I don't know. I just think there's ways around it.
Well, that's a great question to bring up. It may not be like the answer, but I do feel like it's our emotions that drive that. So
Mm-hmm.
women
Okay.
are, and men too, but since we're making this more women based for struggling with burnout. So our emotions drive us and they dictate a lot of our decisions. So if we are fueled by shame, resentment, fear, guilt, um, that is how something like that, Caitlin, could potentially happen for a woman to deny help. It's
Mm-hmm.
because she would be less than her
Okay.
mothers, her grandmothers, as far as she remembers, did not ask for help, and she managed to do all the things. At what cost? Again,
Mm-hmm.
you are seeing it through the lens of a child, not as an adult woman who's married, has a family, is in a relationship, is juggling all these things. And so I do think that whether, I mean, we call those negative emotions. So there's already judgment placed up on those emotions.
Sure. Sure.
But if you're open to it, whether you want to like work with a therapist or a
Mm-hmm.
life coach on that, I think it's incredible inner work to do to allow yourself to actually process those emotions and to feel them,
Yeah.
not numb ourselves, distract ourselves, or keep ourselves so busy that we convince ourselves, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, that is not the answer, but I do feel, especially from the women that I've had the privilege of working with lately, those emotions tend to drive a lot of our decisions. And so it's just something I wanted to maybe shed some light.
Yeah. No, that's major. And that actually, I think, is a really good way to kick off talking about how we can best cope with holiday burnout. So, you just said one of the first, or one of the ways that, in my research came up, one of the top ways, and that was just acknowledge what you're feeling. And you know, we call these things negative. We call them negative emotions, and that already puts a very what's the word I'm looking for? That already frames it as this thing that we should feel shame about. Like,
Mhm.
and you can reframe it, and you can be like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling really stressed right now, or I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed, and I'm exhausted, and that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay if I only jingle some of the way this holiday season. Like,
Yes,
it's all
I love
right.
that,
The
Caitlin.
holidays will still come and go.
Yes, they
Whether
will.
that turkey is beautiful and tastes delicious, or, like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, you cut into it and it just all sizzles and dries because it's burnt crisp and it's disgusting. Like, Christmas, or whatever you celebrate, it's still gonna come. Like, it is still gonna be here. And, you know, it's all right. Like, I think we live in our heads so much, not just with holiday burnout, but with anything that is less than happy or excited, or anything that we feel is positive. Whenever we feel one of these emotions that is less than desirable, like anger, frustration, depression, overwhelming, whatever, we get in our own heads that we're the only ones that are feeling this way. And so I think, especially around the holidays, if you do feel burnout, I think one, you need to acknowledge how you're feeling. Let yourself feel that way. Don't make yourself just snap out of it or shove it under the rug because you don't want to, you know, let someone in, or let yourself process it. Let yourself feel it. And also remind yourself that odds are you're not the only one feeling it. I myself, I'm not a mother, I'm not a wife, but in recent Thanksgivings and Christmases past, more so Christmas, I guess I could say, but I have felt quite burned out. And it's to the point, I think it's more along the lines of what you were saying earlier, Virginia, where I guess I feel lonely because, I come from a small family, and the dinner table looks very different as a 30 something year old than it did when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Because sadly, people have passed away, people have moved away, what have you. And that's part of life. It's obviously not what I would love, but it's just how life is unfolding, and that's natural. And so, whether you're like me and that's more kind of what you feel this when the holidays are in peak, or whether, it's more about cooking and shopping and buying presents, for little ones and things like that. It's all very normal. It's all very normal, and it's not bad, it's not negative. It might not be ideal, it's not what you want to feel, but it doesn't make it any less valid or any less real and worthy of you acknowledging. So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Um, and something else, Virginia, that you touched upon earlier, setting these boundaries, learning to say no, and there are things we can't say no to, of course, like maybe there is that PTA thing that you already signed up for and you're kind of obligated to do, or there's that work holiday party that you have to help plan or whatever. But you don't have to RSVP to every little holiday themed thing that comes up. You might not feel like going ice skating for hot chocolate on a Friday evening because you are burned out, lady, or ladies, I should say, ladies listening, and gentlemen too, because it's not just a women thing, but I do think it is probably more common in women. But it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not watch the Christmas movies. It's okay to just do whatever your little heart desires to help you cope and just kind of get through it. No one's here to judge you. No one's here to judge you. Now, if you close yourself off from the whole world and you become a Grinch and you just don't want to be around anybody or do anything and whatever, Virginia and I were saying earlier, I think that is a very sad quality of life. And I'm not here to shame you for it. I do think things like depression can very much heighten this time of year. And I
Mhm.
do think that a big coping mechanism is isolation. I don't think it's going to help in the long run. I think it's only going to make your burnout feel worse. But that's my thought personally. Another thing that's really helpful with avoiding burnout, it sounds maybe silly or maybe even common sense, but set a budget for yourself. We are all so easily persuaded by these Instagram ads, or the Black Friday sales, or the BOGO deals, or whatever. And like, it can be fun in the moment. I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm into it. Like, I definitely am that Amazon girl that's like, oh great, it's Prime Day, whatever. But be realistic, because we all know like these things are so appealing in the moment, and then you look at your bank account, and you're like, oh, okay, like Christmas might need to be a little bit smaller this year, or we might be done. Like Santa might be low on elves this year and a little behind on his presents. Like I just think that's wise all around. Have a budget.
Well,
Have something in mind.
Caitlin, I'm glad you brought up finances. So that's actually one of the reasons that burnout during the holiday season hits harder is because of financial stress. This is the most taxing time of
Mm,
the year
makes sense.
financially for people. And it is interesting though, because if you are more like, and some people might get this, some people may not, but I'm just gonna go for it. If you are in the matrix for the holidays,
I love it. I love it.
Caitlin knows. I knew Caitlin would. That's why I
Red
freaking
red
love you.
pill or blue pill? I love
And if
it.
you're the one who's going Virginia, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm kind of curious and interested. Girl, like Caitlin and I can do a whole other episode.
Oh
Um,
yeah, we need to do a movies, some kind of movies themed episode at one point.
that
But
would be fun.
I'll hold my peace for now. Continue.
That would be fun.
Dying, dying.
But um, when you are, it's the classic National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. These messages are
Hmm.
very clear that we lose sight
Hmm.
of the true meaning of the holidays, Christmas in particular.
Yes.
So we get swept up with consumerism and materialism, and we completely forget what it really is all about. So when you step away from that, and I call it the matrix, when you step away from that, you really remember what it's about and you prioritize it differently and you value it differently. So, for instance, I think, first of all, if you are in a financial position to go all out, that is so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that so much. You are making memorable Christmases, especially for the kids in your family. That is so sweet. That is so beautiful. Um, Even if you are in a financial position, but you feel like maybe it's, I don't know, more of a gift to bring the young people in your life out to a volunteer charity event, you know,
Yeah.
just to just bring perspective. You know, my kids, my stepkids, they're beautiful kids, and wonderful kids. Christmas, we don't go all out for Christmas. We just feel like we take care of their needs all year round, and they're a product of two households that take care of them. And so, the way we look at it, it's like, okay, what can you give back?
Hmm. I'm so
What
glad you
can you
said
give
that.
back?
Yeah.
And I feel the same way for myself, you know, and my husband, but like, oh man, there is so much richness in the world by doing those acts of service around the holiday time. It brings
Yeah.
purpose, it brings fulfillment, it brings joy.
Yes.
And I think it kind of gives you a healthy reframe on the holidays because not a lot of people are very fortunate. So,
Absolutely. I'm
but
so glad
Caitlin,
you brought that up.
I'm glad you brought up the budget, because that is a solution, right? To
Mhm. Yes.
this tends to be a problem during this time. So like a budget. So Caitlin, have you ever created a budget for yourself during the holiday season?
I have tried, yes. Try to stick to it.
I love you.
I do, of course, I have moments where I'm like, maybe just a little bit more. Maybe we can move this a little bit, it's all right. We got a little wiggle room.
If
But
I sell my pinky, I could open up my bank account to do this. If I
my
sell this
piggy bank,
organ,
I'll just get a hammer and
get a
get at
hammer.
it.
Where's that
Yeah,
piggy bank from when I was 6?
right. Well, and I do think actually this holiday season will probably be one where I am budgeting. So it will be, and I think maybe a bit more strict. So it will be kind of an experiment in itself to kind of see, how do I do?
Yeah.
And and I do think too, I just want to go back to what you were saying about, giving back. Because I will say, whether money is tight or whether there's an abundance, I do think that is it. One, it's free. You can always give your time. You can always, and I understand if you're working a crazy busy schedule. I get it. There are some things that you just, you can't take off work to go do
Right.
X, Y, Z. But, you know, there's always, always something we can give. We all have something to give, whether it's our time or our talents, or, maybe it is money. Maybe we are making a donation. Maybe we do have, we are blessed in that way, and when we are, able to share that. But I will say, the holiday seasons where I have volunteered, and I'm not out here talking like I'm Mother Teresa or anything, because I'm really not, but when I have volunteered around the holidays, especially, there is just this feeling of absolute joy. I
Mhm.
cannot explain it. And it's something that you could have gotten me the nicest, designer bag, or, the latest gadget, or, I'm a big book person, like, the top book I want to read, this month or whatever, and that's all well and good. But you can't, it sounds corny, but I'm serious. The feeling, the happy, amazing, just wonderful, beautiful feeling I've had from, volunteering around the holiday season. It just seems to even outweigh all that. And I don't know, like, and I definitely, I say this because, Virginia, I'm so happy you brought that up. I want to encourage anybody who's listening, whether it's just like an hour of your day throughout the season, or whether there's something you can, do long term or whatever, like, find some ways to give back. Maybe it's the Salvation Army, you're walking into Target and they're ringing their bell. Like, just find something. Find something little. Little or big. Look in your heart and see,
Mhm.
what you feel called to do. But I didn't mean to cut you off if you had more you wanted to say about budgeting. I know you were asking me if I budget. Do you budget on your end, or have you budgeted before holidays, like
I
many times?
this is gonna be great. I've recycled gifts.
I love it. Yes. Well, see, that's the
So,
thing. How about like the white elephant? Like, of course we all have something lying around for that. Or the SNL skit, the Christmas candle. Have you ever seen that?
oh, Christmas candle. Was it?
Okay, there is this candle that we'll have to put it in our show notes. This is not at
Okay.
all going to enrich your life in any way, but it
Oh
hopefully will
my
make you
gosh.
laugh. So there's this music video or whatever. This was probably 10 years ago. The Christmas candle. So it's this gift that, this girl, she goes over to her boyfriend's mom's house, and her mom gives her a candle for Christmas. And she's like, oh, that smells nice, whatever. Then the next thing she knows, this girl is sitting down for lunch with a coworker. And her coworker's like, oh, I have your Christmas gift here. And then she's like, oh, crap, I got nothing for her. But what does she have in her purse? The Christmas candle, and it still has a bow on it. So she gives it to her friend, and it just is. It's this recycled
Yep.
gift. It's amazing. But you go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, yeah, I mean, I've recycled gifts before, in the past, and when I was back in my single days, in my
Mhm.
20s, and I stuck to this budget because I really didn't have a choice,
Yeah.
you know, but it helped a lot because I felt good about recycling these gifts because they just would have gone to waste if I kept them.
Right.
And the people I had in mind, I really felt like I was very intentional with pairing this particular gift with that person who I thought would appreciate it. And if they went on to recycle it too, like the Christmas candle, okay, then the gift keeps on giving. Like, what's wrong with that?
Exactly.
What's wrong with that?
Exactly. Right.
But since being married and everything, like, my husband and I, we'll just have a conversation every Christmas of what we want to do, especially for the kids, and what we want to do for each other. We just have the conversation. Which, on that, Caitlin, I was going to ask you, do you feel like it would ever be beneficial for the person to say to the other person, hey, I'm really no financial position to do that. Is there something else I can do? Do you feel like that could actually be beneficial?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know how often that would happen because I do think we all get in our heads and we all are like, we have our egos and we're like, oh, I better do something for them too. And oh, I can't just offer to help them out with something. Like I have to get them something. So I do think that people might have doubts in their minds. Um, I would be one of them, but I also absolutely think that that would be an amazing thing because some of us don't have the money, but we have the time.
Yeah. And the
And
energy,
absolutely,
and to
absolutely.
do, yeah, to do something on a smaller scale, but that would be still meaningful. Um,
Hmm.
but this goes back to the people pleasing. So, we certainly don't want to let someone down, and then come off like we failed too, in a way, which is perfectionism. So we might struggle with, like, I can't let that person know that I'm financially strapped for cash, because that would be ego, right? Like you were talking
Sure,
about.
sure.
And then you take on that financial burden, and then you're really stressed out, and then maybe even projecting it onto your loved ones. When If you went peeled all that back, and this, Caitlin, goes back to our very first official episode, vulnerability that comes from an authentic place. And I bring this up because I recently went through it. I won't go into too much detail, just out of respect for my family, but I pretty much um, opened up the conversation and I said, if I do this, I will not be able to do that. Are you going to be okay with that? And they said, yes. We would rather you be able to be a part of this. We completely understand that you can't do both. I understand that people listening to this and be like, wow, that's great for you, Virginia, but if I even attempted that with my family, I would be ripped to shreds, which therefore you will not be vulnerable with your loved ones, and you will suppress and you will shut down and you'll dismiss your needs, and you're back into that vicious cycle again. This is going to be maybe like hard for people to understand or to even accept. Um, you, if you want to really break free of this, you are going to have to be okay with being a villain in someone else's story.
Ooh, yes.
Okay? You have to be okay with it. You have to be okay that somebody would think less of you and think that you're not this caring, generous, kind person. So it fits their narrative on how you let them down, on how you didn't show up for them, or like how dare you, even like, proposition and try to, like, come up with, a way where it sounds more like it's appeasing you and, not others. You're gonna have to be okay with it, because if you're okay with it, um, that you reclaim your power if you're okay with it and you embrace it. because you know deep down you are not that person. And hopefully you can surround yourself by people who see that in you and love those parts of you versus the people that refuse to see that. And they decide the one time that you can't do X, Y, and Z, they're going to use that against you. This is
Mm-hmm.
why it's harder for women. This
Yeah.
is why it's harder for women. And guess what, ladies? We do it to each other. What's that all about? What's
Why
that
do we
all
do this?
about? Why?
Why?
What?
We peg ourselves against each other and we guilt trip each other and we sprinkle the petty little
Passive
lines and
aggressive.
things, and then we can be our each other's worst enemies in that sense, and it only fuels the fire and it just gets worse and worse. Why do we do this? Why?
That's a, I think that's a great question to ask. Actually, there's quite a few questions from this podcast episode that we hope we were leaving you with before the holidays really start to, take in full force. But yeah, like, why do we do that with each other? If you want another fun movie to watch, watch Bad Moms Christmas.
Oh, it's a great one. Yes.
Be a
Yes.
bad mom this holiday season.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so it's really really interesting. And that also makes me think of another way to combat burnout. And Caitlin, this might be one of yours, and we can go back to your list because I know we left off with
Sure.
finances and having a budget.
Yeah.
Um, One of them is community.
Hmm.
So Caitlin and I both actually touched on this throughout the episode, but community, having your village, having your support system to be able to offload, delegate. So, Caitlin, you were mentioning earlier about some examples of, going ice skating. You said yes to it when you were all like energized and full of life, and then it comes, to it where you're like, oh God, how am I gonna muster up the strength, to do that? Um, Resiliency. So resiliency is also another way to combat burnout. Resiliency is not about pushing through or having more self-discipline. That's not what resiliency is about, actually. Resiliency is about acknowledging your emotions and processing them and not having them dictate your decisions. So there is strength and beauty in parenthood, especially for mothers who have to muster up whatever strength, even if it's non-existent, to be able to go do the special thing with her kids, so they have a magical, holiday memory. And so, women listening to this, mothers listening to this, if you're like, well, Virginia, it's not about actually, doing the things. It's, like exactly that, not having the energy, feeling depleted, feeling sick almost from all the stress. Kayla and I have been touching a lot on people pleasing and perfectionism, lack of boundaries, not saying no, how those all play a role in burnout. But another thing that we have yet to touch on is that it could be a real underlying health condition that is
Hmm.
contributing to burnout. You could be going through a hormonal shift and you have a hormonal imbalance. You could have emotional dysregulation, cortisol dysregulation. Um, not to say that the perfectionism and the people pleasing are not validated, but you could have a real underlying health condition that plays a role in it. So the ice skating is it's not just physically taking your kids ice skating. There's the mental and emotional load that also goes into it. So if it has gotten to that point, hopefully you have a community of women who will help you out. A close friend who's going to take your kids ice skating with her kids. Or maybe she's the fun
Absolutely.
aunt, or maybe she's the cool grandma, whatever it is. This is why community is so important for women. We are not meant to do it all on our own all the time and to be isolated and to feel burdened. So I know I'm not saying that that's the solution because you as a mom, you want to be the one taking your kids ice skating, but maybe you really aren't physically, mentally, emotionally capable of that in this season of your life because your health has been neglected for too long. So if you really want to give a gift to your kids for the holiday season, take care of yourself. Start
Yes.
prioritizing your health so you can be that mom that takes them ice skating despite the stress load you've got going on. So,
Definitely.
again, community, your village, being able to have those conversations with the women in your family, like, hey, can we do it at your house this year? Or if we do it at mine, can you do this and can you do that? And you know,
Mhm.
it's just these are just helpful, constructive ways on how to avoid burnout during the holiday season. So, again, the solution may not be like you're just going to avoid all of it. And we talked about, like, can't avoid everything that triggers you and stresses you. A lot of this has to do with our emotional regulation, nervous system, and how we react to these things. But it's also how we take care of ourselves during this time as well. And I mentioned about the resiliency part of it too. Like, if you leave today's episode and if you start to really think about holidays coming up, how do you really feel about them? Are you already like stressed and anxious, or are you excited and optimistic? It's like this is what Caitlin and I were hoping with um, the episode to bring awareness to. And yeah, Caitlin, if you got other things on how to combat
I yeah,
burnout,
well
let's.
you just hit two of them and you
Okay.
that was awesome. So yeah, prioritizing your health, major, not just for holiday burnout, I mean in all areas of your life, because if you obviously we all push through. I think many of us, most of us probably do, we push through when we shouldn't, but if and when possible, always try to put your health as a top priority because, you know, things could get much worse and then you're not able to show up in the ways that, your family deserves, your friends deserve, but also in the ways that you deserve because this is your life. These are your beautiful moments that, you only get one go around at this and this is the way you prioritize your health and your well-being. This is the way to make the most of it. So absolutely, especially for the holiday season. And then you did say too, reaching out to loved ones for support.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other one I had on my list, and I thought this was pretty interesting. I myself am a planner. Now, granted, I definitely realize that life does not go according to plan. I've learned that very well over the last even month or two. I've had a lot of random things happen that I'm like, well, there goes my agenda for the weekend or, the day or whatever. But I do think a great way to enter the holiday season um, proactively is to make a plan. So set specific days on your calendar that you want to shop.
Hmm.
Set some time where like let's say you're cooking for, your family or whatever, you're going to bake those cookies for the party or whatever, like set that time. Know that that's on your calendar or wherever you keep track of things. Have that somewhere in your mind. Of course, keep track of when that party is or multiple parties or the ice skating or the gingerbread house making or whatever. Like I definitely feel, and not everybody is this way, but I think this is a good tactic. If you are someone who works well with organization, having something written out somewhere. Now you have to be prepared that just because you have this written down for this day doesn't mean it's going to go that exact way. Doesn't
Right.
mean, something else might happen and completely throw all your plans out the window. But when you have that in the forefront of your mind, you
Hmm.
are entering the holiday season with this feeling, hopefully, of readiness and a bit more preparedness. You know what's coming. Now, of course, we can never plan for the things that come out of nowhere. So I'm not saying everything's going to go smoothly and it's going to be the best holiday ever. But I definitely feel that making some sort of a plan for yourself and your family, or whoever you're spending these special times with is going to be a major help. Um, so absolutely. I think all of those are really great ways to cope with the holidays and holiday burnout. And another one, this goes without saying, but if you are someone who's experiencing burnout to a very deep, deep level,
Hmm.
um, it may be something that while your friends and your family love you, they may not be equipped to fully walk you through that. They can hold your hand, they can want all the good things for you, but they just may not have the skill set for that. And there's no shame in seeking out a therapist, or whatever you feel, maybe I just I think we, to your point, Virginia, we hold so much over our shoulders of this pressure that we have to meet all of these needs. And I
Hmm.
just want to remind the ladies listening that there's no shame if you are just feeling down and out. If you're crying over the holidays, if you're feeling extremely hopeless, if you are, as Virginia mentioned earlier, maybe you're mourning, maybe this holiday season is going to look drastically different than holidays past.
Hmm.
Please, 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 please do yourself a favor. Um, and this is a strong move. This is a move that it's you taking ownership of your life. Reach out to someone who is a specialist in these situations.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean your friends and family can't support you, but absolutely seek professional help. And we are here to root you on for those moments. Those are big life moments, and we are here to be your cheerleaders because that's so important, truly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And like there's the cheerleader, but you also deserve the inner coach. Um,
Hmm.
so one of the things that came up in doing some research for burnout is to how to parent yourself during this time.
Okay.
So parents, a mother, a father, the masculine, the feminine, when they are both aligned, um, they are not your cheerleader. They are your inner coach. That is how they're able to nurture you, but also get you out of bed.
Okay.
The union is that's how they're able to make sure that you eat something healthy and you go move your body.
Hmm.
You're parenting yourself. So
I
if
like that.
we
I've not heard that before.
Yes, this was parenting yourself is a big thing when it comes to inner child healing and work, the inner work. Um, but we might hear as women a lot of the times of always being like in our soft feminine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I were to be in my soft feminine pleasurable state all the time, I wouldn't do the things that I also have to do. So that's where my masculine come in. That's where my father comes in. But he's going to come from a very healthy, uh, safe, vulnerable place. where I can get that little bit of push, but it's not going to wreck me. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to destroy my health. Again, the two are working together. So parenting ourselves is a wonderful, powerful technique. So yes, to put it simply, uh, playing the cheerleader role. Because Caitlin, we talked about this in the adult friendships episode that there are many, many roles to play, and they all contribute. But when it comes to maybe doing the real work and making progress, you need a coach. You need someone who's going to, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Who's not going to tell you what you want to hear.
Tough
So,
love.
but
Yeah.
it's done in a way though, where it comes from a place of compassion
Yes.
and understanding and
Yeah.
empathy. So I know with the holidays coming up, the last thing we think we have time for is seeking professional help, whether it's with a therapist or with a life coach. But it is out there. And if you are entertaining the thought of it, even maybe one session by the end of this year, one, just the one, and see how you feel. And if it's something, you want to continue pursuing into the new year. So,
I like
um,
that. Yeah.
well, I'm glad you brought up a couple things. One, the professional help, it's huge. It's so helpful. And the other thing is time management skills, and blocking out time for certain things that you need to plan and prep for during the holiday season. And that's in general, all year round, but really specific to the holidays. So whether it's setting reminders or alarms on your phone. Um, Now I know, Caitlin, I think towards the very beginning of this episode, we talked about like reducing social media, which probably would mean then taking breaks from our phones. And that's all very important too, and for our health as well, and to not numb ourselves out as we're dealing with a great deal of stress and burnout during the holiday season. So even if you can just take some breaks, micro breaks, from these devices and from these things, that can be really beneficial. So you don't have to, go off the grid for 7 days, but maybe first thing in the morning you're not reaching for your phone. Um, you allow yourself to get up first. Maybe you have to set your phone in a completely different room. I do that actually. As maybe people who are watching, you can see I have a digital clock on my nightstand because my phone is charging in the kitchen at night. So I have to physically get out of bed, out of the bedroom, cross the house to access my phone. Same with the evening time. My phone is not in this bedroom at all. I have my books. I have my little routine, and Caitlin and I can actually go into more detail in other episodes about healthy habits and routines during the seasonal changes. But I think this was, I know we say it for every episode, but like I just felt like we were so on it with today's topic. So I hope you guys feel the same way.
Me too. I love the holiday season. And I also can very much relate to just feelings of overwhelm and anxiety and loneliness at the same time. So I think this wasn't just a good topic to talk about for other people, but it was a very beneficial one, for us to talk about. I mean, it
I
applies to
agree.
everybody. All of our topics do, not just this one, but with holidays right around the corner, this just felt like a really good thing to kind of kick off this season and hopefully um, arm us all a little bit, get us a little bit prepared mentally, and honestly, just know that we're all going through it together. We're all going through it together. So please know, if you are having moments throughout this season where you're just not feeling yourself or whatever, you can reach out to us too. Like, our information, our socials, all the things, that's all in our show notes. We'd love to be here to support you, and
Absolutely.
do whatever we can. You've got your very own life coach here who has her own little tips and tricks, and honestly, I could go on, but I know we got to cut it somewhere. So I guess we'll do it here. Not only do you have some tips on how to handle the season, but you also have some great classic movie recommendations. So I
That's
think
the most important, actually.
I really think that's, if you take away anything from
It's the
today's
movies.
episode, it's, you need to watch Christmas Vacation, Bad Moms Christmas, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I don't know. There's probably others I'm forgetting, but I really think like that's everybody's homework. So go do
Yes,
that. Even
that's
if you've seen them, do it
love the
again.
homework assignment, Caitlin. I
Yes,
love it.
yes.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We are so appreciative of our Talking Blondes community, and we just are so grateful for each and every one of you. And we can't wait to do it again next time. So stay tuned for more.
bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.